everybody. Welcome back. My name is Grant Kopek, and I'm the Field Operations Director for IntelliSense. As the Director of the Field Operations team, I manage the team that manages our customer lifecycle. So that's everything from technical solution design to software implementation to making our customers successful on an ongoing basis. And I'm really pleased today to be chairing this session, fireside chat on the future of stockpile management with Craig Morley. Craig is the head of mining geosciences and reconciliation at Anglo. And we've been working with Craig for a number of years now on the development of our stockpile management application. And we're really pleased to have Craig here today. So welcome, Craig.
Thanks, Grant. Thanks for having me.
Just a little housekeeping before we launch into this. So this is a 30-minute session. And Craig and I will be having a 20-minute discussion around how some of the challenges we've seen in the industry, how we got started on the stockpile application and where we've gotten to today and some of the use cases we've seen. And then after that, we'll have a 10-minute Q&A session where people can ask whatever questions they want. You should see a widget, if you're watching at home, you should see a widget for Slido next to the video player on your screen. And from here, you'll be able to participate and ask any questions you have. And alternatively, you can access Slido on your phone by scanning the QR code or visiting slido.com on your browser and entering the event code Inspirations20. And when you submit a question, you can upvote that question or have others upvote that question if you really want it to be answered. So we'll be paying attention to that. So, Craig, I wanted to start off our chat today by talking about the current practices that we've seen across the industry and how modeling of stockpiles has traditionally been done. So what have you seen here?
Yeah, I think in the bulk operations, bulk minerals, such as coal and iron ore, for a long time, we've seen stacker reclaimers that are doing great jobs of actually letting us know what's in the stockpiles. But on our metals operations, where we're building our stockpiles with truck dumps, typically some sites have manually created models with zones of consistent materials, but most mines are just large arithmetic averages of a single grade with no detail at all.
Yeah. And what have been some of the problems you've seen come out of these approaches that are commonly used across the industry?
Yeah, I guess the industry's been moving more and more with focus on geometallurgy and other characteristics other than grade, and so we've been building better in situ models, but we're still being in this kind of catch-22 with having massive piles of material with only one grade. I can remember my very first job in an open pit being hauled into the manager's office and saying, there's a problem with the plant feed, it must be the stockpiles. We went out with a water truck and watered down stockpiles, and we could eyeball the rocks and go and report back and say, well, it looks like the right feed. And eventually it turned out the problem, of course, was in the plant, not with the mine or the stockpile. But data's king. If we had had a model, if we had have known what was in the stockpile, the same as we know what's in the grounds, then we could have argued the case rather than having to rely on eyeballing the rocks.
I think from the IntelliSense side of things, we, as a company, we started our life building optimization applications for plant processes, thickener, grinding, flotation, things like that. But a large portion of the variability in those processes was coming through the material moving through that process. And I know that even trying to track that material, things where the stockpiles were acting as a big averaging engine for that material and a big scrambling of that data. And so we naturally, as a company that started in the plant space, looking back, we saw the value of doing real-time stockpile modeling of the contents of those stockpiles. And I know that we had issues with our some of our earlier applications with grinding optimization and things like that because of the unknown material in the stockpiles there. So we saw a huge opportunity there as well. Speaking of opportunities, what have you seen are the big opportunities with the work we've been doing on real-time stockpile modeling?
Yeah, it's been really interesting. 3 years ago at Anglo, none of us metals operations had 3D stockpiles of what was in them. And a lot of the business case actually comes from mine planning, the short-term mine planning, the ability to create a plan and schedule and optimize the plant feed from both what's coming out of the operation direct tip into the crusher or the processing plant and what's being reclaimed off the stockpiles as well. We can see the heterogeneity in the stockpiles now and all the geological and geometallurgical data, and enable us to plan the reclaiming rather than just reclaim.
Yeah,
it was interesting. COVID has done a lot of things to the world, but when it first hit in March, a lot of our sites had to go on to reduce staff, reduce production levels. They didn't necessarily have to close down, but typically one of the ways we handled that situation was to start feeding from stockpiles. And we were lucky at a few of our operations. We had the new IntelliSense stockpile models, and the planners and the production guys were able to plan the reclaim in such a way that they were feeding almost the same as run a mine feed off the stockpiles and reclaiming in order to hit the production targets. And that was the first time we were ever able to do that. So it was very timely to have those models in place.
And that was I know a big moment for the stockpile application team on our side when we realized that was happening, and that needed to happen because of COVID, but also that it was actually possible, and we've been able to build the application in a way that was possible, and when the need arose, the mine was able to feed directly from the stockpile. So I know the team was very excited about the ability to do that on the fly there. One thing I wanted to ask about was what did you see as the key challenges in building the stockpile application for the Anglo use cases?
Yeah, the biggest issue we always have with any project like this is when we start using data sources that haven't been used before. And if they haven't been used, it means that they've been neglected. The quality control isn't there, and that was the biggest issue once we started to do the initial pilot work. And we're looking at getting FMS data, fleet management data, and accurate locations of trucks, dozers, both when loading was happening and when tipping. And it wasn't until we started working with that data that we realized just how bad it was. And now that data is being used, we're finding many other uses for it as well, from planning all the way through to reconciliation. And we've been able to drive the business case for having high precision GPS on everything in the fleet rather than just key pieces of equipment, getting more coverage, focusing on how we move the material more, and using the power of the fleet management systems as well, because there's a business case for it now.
Absolutely. On the IntelliSense side, I think we've had to develop very, very rigorous ways of dealing with the data that may be coming in poorer quality than we'd like, and making sure that we always show when data is bad, make sure we're showing users when data is bad, giving them enough root cause information to go and diagnose and fix it as soon as possible, and then building on top where necessary, any data estimation or uncertainty calculations, and then also giving alerts and fallbacks if the data quality is poor. And going through that process, I think has been really instructive for us, and it's made us build the application in a way that it's robust uh, to bad data. If a truck's GPS goes out, if you have a body up event on a truck, or if you might have a slightly less accurate GPS. We've built the application in such a way where we can still track where certain masses are in 3D, where we think the mass is, and we're very proud of how then we've managed to go live with this application, and track where material is in 3D in the stockpiles, even though the data isn't perfect and will never be perfect, even though there's a business case for improving it.
Yeah, it's been an iterative exercise going from proof of concept, effectively, settling on a solution, then implementing, going through the data issues, and then working through to resolve those issues and improve the quality as we go. And it's in production. I often say to some of the geos and the planners and the mining teams, what we used to have was 1 million tons at some grade on an average, and now at least we have more information, and it's improving all the time, and that's a great benefit.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things I think that we've seen is a bit of in developing the models that are inside of the stockpile application, and then testing it out with users. We've seen a real incremental buildup of trust where, at first, the results, the results maybe weren't being trusted because the data is bad, but then we've improved the data, and then the results were looked on as with suspicion because they're used to using other things like Excel spreadsheets, and now I've been really pleased to see that we've gone to be that one source of truth for what's in the stockpiles, what's going into the stockpiles, what's coming out of the stockpiles, and what's resident there. And I think that's been a real nice journey with the technology, but also with the change management in deploying the application
there. Yeah, no doubt at all.
Yeah. I wonder if you had any comment around the users and the workflows that we've developed to deploy the application. Can you talk a bit around that, and how you look at change management in your team and in your company to use these results and better data?
Yeah. Again, I guess going back to the beginning of the collaboration, when we were effectively trying to produce a proof of concept that what we were aiming to do was possible, and the agile methodology of working with IntelliSense and the sites and a TNS group, a technical and sustainability team inside Anglo, was really powerful in that we could test multiple alternatives. We looked at a number of different solutions and even technologies, and that assisted us not only to discover what was happening with the data, but also to come out with a production viable solution in terms of not just going straight to one solution and hitting all kinds of issues. We tested many alternatives and looked at different technologies. Mm-hmm. So having that detailed knowledge enabled us then to run through from proof of concept into pilot, and then implement on a couple of different commodities. And towards the end of the process, we've been rolling across all of the operations.
Yeah, on that end, what have you seen about using the application across different mine types, different commodities, open pit? underground. What have you seen, across these heterogeneous sites?
Yeah, I guess one thing that's interesting is there is a large common issue with the data across all the sites. You know, that's been one of the common things. There has been some very creative ways that the stockpile application's been used. One of the applications has been to apply it to heat leach pads and actually model where the material is within the leach pads, and that's enabled the leaching team to alter where they're pumping the liquor and the residence time and improve recoveries. So, you know, the sites have taken it and owned it and applied their own needs to the use of the models, which has been really encouraging. And I think we're just seeing more and more of that as the quality improves and the use is, you know, goes out across the operations. Having things like you know, Teams spaces where the various sites can collaborate and talk about what they're doing with the models has been useful as well. Sharing across mines and operations and commodities. So it's a tool that's fitting into the portfolio and the value chain very easily and very well.
I wondered if you had any thoughts about the small company, large company collaboration that we've had over the last couple of years. I know we at IntelliSense have learned a lot from how Anglo operates and the Anglo expertise in this area, and that's been really good for us. I wondered if you had any thoughts on your side about what went well and how you would look to manage these sort of collaborations going forward.
Yeah, I've already mentioned that agile approach, and I think that has worked really well in this instance. Another thing that was really excellent from Anglo's perspective, we came into the project with a concept, some ideas, and even some technologies that we chose. But to IntelliSense credit, you know, you took a look at the problem, you came up with some alternatives, and even, you know, rewrote core of the physics engine. And presented that back to us, and we looked at it and said, well, yes, okay, that does everything we're looking for. We did some validation and it was a great solution. So, you know, that partnership, I guess, in understanding and solving the problem was really important for us to be able to get the result that we wanted. The other thing that's important is, you know, Anglo had the test sites and the resources available to provide the problems. It was then just up for the team to go looking for the solutions. So there was no shortage of operations and different commodities to test and to roll the tool across and see it in multiple styles of implementation.
Yeah. Building and rolling out to so many different sites has been really important, because it's allowed us to test how the application was built and the various features and functions, and make sure that it's general and adaptable across those different sites and use cases, rather than just being bespoke to one site, one commodity, one type of stockpiling, short term versus long term, these sort of things. And I think that's maybe a good point to ask you a final question here about the future of stockpile management and how you see the importance for stockpile modeling and stockpile management going forward for Anglo, even beyond what we've done here today.
Yeah, I definitely see that this is changing the way we manage our stockpiles, but it's still a bit of a journey. Having these models is allowing us to change how we build, we reclaim, how we blend and prioritize of our stockpiles. An interesting angle that has come out recently is our sustainability team within Anglo has become very interested, as the stockpile models now being important as to the sustainability and environmental considerations around our operations. So we're now starting on some of our operations to model not only the production stockpiles, but the low-grade stockpiles and waste dumps for future generations and mine closure consideration. Yeah. So that's I consider a critical part of future of mining and what we leave behind, so that we're ensuring that the sustainability and safety of the communities in the area we are mined are considered as well.
Yeah, excellent. And that connects very well to the theme of this event and the earlier keynote on this aspect and how important stockpile modeling and the stockpile application is going to be for that. So we're excited to continue that journey. I think at this point I see various questions popping up, so we'll move to the Q&A section here. Just bringing up questions here. Just give me 1 second. First question coming up here is how long has IntelliSense been working with Anglo? Craig, maybe I'll let you have a first crack at that
one. It's been about 3 years, I guess, but that's on the stockpile side. But going back, from what I understand, before that, IntelliSense was doing some work with Anglo on pipelines and processing plant work, which was before my time.
Yeah. No, it has been a good 3 year journey on stockpile, and I think the relationships only gotten stronger in that time. Question for Craig, I think first is what's been the key challenge to getting people on board with the stockpile application internally within Anglo, and how have you had to justify the project?
It's been really interesting because with all our projects, we try and use value and a business case to justify them. And it's been really challenging to come up with a business case and value on having a stockpile model. And it's interesting to see managers all the way down to GOs on the pit floor just looking at the models and going, wow, we get it, we want it, we need it, we're using it, but we can't put a dollar value on it yet. But we're working on that. So yeah, it hasn't been a hard sell at all the way through the hierarchy on the operations. Everybody sees the benefit from the mine geologists through to mine planners, production guys, and the GMs of the site have all embraced it.
Yeah, that's what we've seen as well, and goes back to my comment about seeing from the users them start to use it as a one source of truth, which has been a great outcome. One question here is as data is often an issue on the mine side, how is IntelliSense helping sites get the necessary things in place for stockpile modeling? I can have some things to say about that, but maybe Craig, I'll give you first crack if you'd like.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is the transparency. Unfortunately, the FMS data is being just used for daily prioritization of where trucks go, and nobody's ever bothered to see the value in that data in terms of what can flow along within the system with a truck. So having that transparency, and the FMS guys love it. Somebody is looking at their data now and using it, and it's adding benefit to the operation. So that's been a big outcome on the data front.
Yeah, and I think on the IntelliSense side, I could probably talk for hours on this, but I think one of the things we've learned is we've come up with a lot of templates about what we think constitutes good quality data, and we've learned to get on site or in touch with site, at least in these COVID times, as early as possible, and introducing that to them and introducing the reason for that to them, and then start iterating on that. And that iteration is really key as we dev, and we can't expect to fix things in one go. So, or one go rather. So showing them the reason for improving various aspects of the data quality, and building some analytics on top of that to show them those reasons, I think has been really really important there. Yeah, a lot of questions, coming in for data. One here is what has been the biggest challenge to going live with the stockpile application, and what have we learned from that? Maybe I'll have first go at this one, and then I'll hand over to you, Craig. I think one of the biggest challenges to going live is as we've discussed before, has been the data, but it's making sure that every single data piece is in place. And we've learned that if we when we go live, we want to be sure we're accurate, and we want to be sure it's a production system that we can use. And and oftentimes I found that in our implementation, we mutually feel that we're 90% there or 95% there, but we want to get 100% there before we go live. And so I think we've, on our side, and both and interactions with Anglo, we've developed a series of procedures to try to get us to 100% quicker than otherwise. I don't know if you had any comment on that, Greg.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And we've talked about the fleet management system a lot. I guess another one is, with the new technologies that are being used in survey these days, with drone surfaces of the stockpiles. And again, it's the first time the surveyors have been asked, can you fly the stockpiles daily, weekly? And, we need a high quality product, not just something that we can look at and calculate that the volume is changing. We need to ground truth the block model. And again, they're ecstatic and happy to do that, but there were no processes to transfer that data, upload it, validate it, and implement it into the stockpile modeling process. So they're all things we had to put in place on the data side.
One question here is about how the stockpile block models deal with uncertainty given uncertainty in the PIT 3D block model and the material handling. So here would be for the truck dumps, at least truck GPS and that sort of thing. Craig, do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about models, as George Box said, is they're all wrong. So as long as we start with that premise, we've just got to move from the wrong model to something that is useful. And there's a lot of effort that we put in right across the group in terms of reconciliation. And if we can get our reconciliations down to acceptable levels, then the model is useful, and we can apply it in the day-to-day practices of the operation.
Yeah, and I think I've seen us continually get better at handling that, and as we gather more data on site, I think we get better and better at understanding exactly where that material is and what the material is. I see there's a question about how IntelliSense helps mine sites get the necessary things in place for stockpile modeling. I'll save that one. In one of the next sessions, we have our applications team and our deployment team doing a deep dive on the stockpile application. So I'll save that one for that. One other question I see here is where do you see the opportunities for integration and optimization across the midterm planning, short-term planning, and load and haul operations? And I think this will be the last question. Craig, do you want to take this?
Yeah, The terms midterm and short term and long term mean different things to different companies in different time frames. But the integration should really be that our long-term plans are setting the context for the operation, and the midterm plans are giving us the detail of what we're going to do to achieve our budgets and our financial results. And then short term, the plan should be all about this is how we execute it, and we comply to that plan and deliver what the plan says.
And I think depending on the stockpile type, we can make contributions to all of that. So I think we're at time here. I see a lot of other good questions. Data is clearly an industry-wide issue because a lot of questions deal with data here. But I think we'll be able to save those questions for the session with our stockpile application team. So Craig, I want to thank you very much for participating. It's been a great journey so far, and I'm looking forward to the future. And thanks everybody else for listening and actively participating.